Not that this is a particularly big deal, but I kind of wanted to touch on this movie because it was kind of all up in the Netflix top 10 for at least 40 seconds a few weeks ago. Did you remember Damsel, everybody? Damsel was going to change the game for new fantasy IPs on Netflix. Brand new idea, brought up by MBB of Stranger Things fame. That's Millie Bobby Brown. Doing the not damsel in distress thing. And, fantasy is a genre we here at Winter Wolf's we typically enjoy. We like all the classic stuff. We like some of the modern stuff, but Kingsley and I are going to talk about Damsel. Even though we're a couple of weeks behind on it, we still wanted to touch base because we're a little, as I recall our off-screen chat, we're a little simpatico on it. Like, we were coming at this from the same viewpoint, which is a little different for us in fantasy because you tend to run things a little bit more, understanding, a bit more generous of these things. And you've got some things to say about this movie. What did you think of Damsel? Just kind of overall global view down before we get into any specifics. So you go first.
All right, so going into Damsel, we saw the preview on Netflix, I think starting about end of January of this year. They started putting the trailer out, heavily pushing it as their new story coming out with a March 8th release. So yeah, we're about a month behind of its release of actually doing a review. But I think it deserves about a month time to simmer. Going into it, I was kind of excited because one of the things we've talked about a lot is don't change an IP to make it inclusive. Write your own stuff and make a powerful character, and that's what I was excited about with this movie, is that's exactly what they did, and I was ready to watch it. And got some thoughts on that after watching it. Overall, I think the look and feel of it was great, but I think let's get into the deeper part of it. I think the show and what was written gave a great setup. It had some fun and games, but did not stick the landing.
I think that's about as tight an explanation as I think I could give it. I also agree. Just from the beginning, we have to put our money where our mouth is when we review these kind of things. And like you just said, we talk often about not rewriting things to modernize them or change them to, make them X, Y, or Z, or political, or, overly inclusive of things that didn't have any particular story, stakes, or weight, or anything like that. So Netflix went out and made their own thing, and I'll give them credit for making their own thing. Lots of people don't make their own thing. So they did, unfortunately, give us a girl boss character, but it doesn't come out until the end. Like it's too on the head with the girl bossiness, like they set the character up. She's a princess, of a failing, withering country, but they do the save the cat beats early for her. They make her likable. She's trying to help her people. She takes good care of her sister. She has a decent relationship with, her father, the king, and then, the adoptive stepmom. It's cold, but it's not annoying Gen Z, like cringy, I hate you, you hate me, you don't understand. Like, it wasn't that at all, which I appreciate about that. So they did the character right in the setup phase. The fun and game stuff is always subjective, whether or not you're on board with what they do. But I agree 100%, man. It's not even that they didn't stick the landing, dude. I think they just decided not to try. And they were just like, how do we end this movie? And then they were like, let's just do one ridiculous thing after the other times 10 and roll credits. Like that ending in particular. One stupid thing happens, and then literally it was like an avalanche of like snowball effect, getting dumber and dumber as it went. And that way, when we get to the way over cliched, stereotypical slow-mo walk away from the explosion that went on for, I don't know what I say it, like when we were talking like a minute and a half. Like, it's just her walking away from green screen fire for 90 seconds. I'm like, no, just stop, dude. But I don't know, man. Like, it looked good. You can tell they sank some money into it. I thought the dragon looked every bit as good as anything I've seen on House of the Dragons or Game of Thrones. So I know you haven't seen House of the Dragon, but you've seen enough footage to know that, like, the dragon effects are never anything people dump on,
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it looked good. The performances were okay. Everybody, I think everybody was trying. Like, I didn't see anything that was like cringe in the performance. What do you think? Did anybody stand out as taking the day off or anything?
No, I think the exact opposite. I think a lot of them bought into their role in this one, which the performances I have no issue with. I think it was mostly the writing. They did the best they could with the writing they had.
Yeah. Because they have some all-star cast in there, guy. I mean, Robin Wright, Angela Bassett, Millie Bobby Brown. People can game. You know, like they can act.
And also, it's like he had a great idea and they knew how to start it. But once they got into it, they were like, how do I get to point C? Okay, let's just make them at point C.
Yep. Exactly. I think we said that in our conversation where I was like, they obviously hired somebody that knew screenplay format because they had a setup, they had character development, they had the entrance to Act 2, which is, we'll get to that, the bit with the bridge at the beginning, after the ritual, you know what I mean? Like that they have all these entryways and various guidepost scenes along the way, but something just unraveled at the end, and I don't know like what it was, like specifically like how it ended in the kind of shape that it did, because I thought everything about the first probable 45 minutes to an hour was very technically sound, and it made for a decent movie, even if it was kind of cliched a little bit, because the girl boss stuff is kind of cliched at this point. We're on a decade straight of this character, you know what I mean? So it's like it's not out of the box or fresh thinking anymore, that particular character, but the story itself is archetypal. She was on the hero's journey, like 11 was on the hero's journey, even though she was the non-damsel.
Once again, I go back to the ending was just off, and like you talked about, like they got someone who knew the format. So the writer is Dan Mazeau, Mazeau, and he has written two other screenplays other than Damsel, but he has 4 more in development where he's the writer. And the two before this that he's known for, Wrath of the Titans,
not the good one,
and Fast X.
Okay, I mean, also...
and he got the story by for Fast X, so he didn't write the full... it says screenplay and story by, so he came up with the story.
Whichever, dude. I don't care what he got for it, except paid. If he got paid, good for him. I mean, I'd take a paycheck for Fast 42 if they wanted me to write it. But yeah, for this movie, right, they set you up with, like we said, they set you up with 11. She's a princess that gets kind of betrothed, arranged marriage by her father, the king, to a more powerful kingdom that has resources. With the economic exchange is going to save her people. He doesn't force her into it. She does maintain like a sense of honor and duty. Like they didn't like darker the night, put her on a ship and send her away. You know what I mean? Like the whole family went. She understood she's the caretaker of her people. This is her job, this and that. We get over to Big Kingdom. They're obviously kind of sketchy. I mean, I don't think they were trying to hide that at all. Robin Wright, a couple of slips of the tongue here or there kind of puts her on display as like the head villain. She gets what she gets later. And then basically it's a screw job, and that like the big, this is a month later, nobody cares. The big twist here is that the kingdom that she's betrothed into sacrifices maidens every summer or every 5 years or whatever it was to a dragon in exchange for not nuking the kingdom, because the kingdom, as we find out, double plot twist later, killed the dragons young like 1,000 years ago. So this shit's been going on for like a millennia or something, like a long ass time, right? And when they have their little marriage ceremony, they take what was her name or whatever, I'm just gonna call her Damsel. I can't keep calling her 11. They take Damsel up on the mountain and do a second secret ritual. Elodie, that's right. Or Melody or Elodie, E-L, right?
Elodie, E-L-O-D-I-E, Elodie.
I like that name too. It's one of I think that's the name of one of Harry Dresden. I gotta do my daily Dresden reference on our video. It's one of Dresden's bottled fairy kind of thing characters. Anyway, they take Elodie up on the mountain and they basically throw her ass off a drawbridge. She falls like 600-700 feet or something through a bunch of bramble, doesn't die, and then has to like run the labyrinth with like the dragon. Like that's the challenge. Like that's it. Like they just assume once we throw you down there, they die. And as the movie goes on, we realize other girls have been down there and have made it to varying points in this cavern, this maze, this area, because they've left her like breadcrumbs in the form of maps that they've sketched on the wall, which I thought was hilarious, as you pointed out during our talk, that it's like, they made it as far as they made it, but then they somehow made it back to the map room and drew the map, despite there being several things along the way that would have made it not possible for her to get back through the things. It's basically like the Descent at that point, minus the underground cannibals. Like there's no light in most places. There's sharp ass rocks, blind falls, all kinds of cool shit. I don't know. She made it back to the map room.
Yeah, and I think that's where it started to fall apart in the whole shows when after she climbed the crystal to get to that exit that she found on the map, and then she found out that it wasn't an exit, and
which was a good false victory. I like that.
Yeah, it was good. That. And then it was like the writing on the wall, not safe.
Yeah. I think, again, structurally sound for just having that kind of scene.
I mean, and then it played into like her not having survival skills and trying to pick up stuff as she goes, and like she isn't like a master swordsman until she was. And that's where I think it started to fall apart. Like she didn't know how to fight. They mentioned it all the time, and then all of a sudden she's like a master swordsman taking on the dragon. It's just
after multiple armed dudes had no shot.
Yeah.
Seasoned veterans, hardened battle-hardened soldiers. No. So we're just now gonna shit talk the ending just because. Like, and we get into that part where she gets out of the dragon's lair. She's all cooked up. She's in her torn wedding dress, and she heads down the mountain, and she bumps into Angela Bassett's stepmom character, who's been stabbed. We were talking about this, the Queen's forces shanked her and took the younger sister as an additional sacrifice. Stabbed Angela Bassett, who had time to, be the only black woman in the kingdom, steal a horse in broad daylight, ride a day and a half up a mountain, right? And then randomly bump into Elodie, who was on her way down the mountain, who then horse jacks Angela Bassett to ride back up to the mountain to go save the sister, who was also thrown off the bridge, fell 600 feet, twisted her ankle. She wasn't dead. She wasn't paralyzed, right? So they can do the dragon rescuing thing. And at that point, it was chuckles all around the Winterwolf's Den main headquarters layer over here, because at that point it was just laughably off the rails and stupid. Yeah, and it does. I mean, did it get any more laughable than when she goes back and she interrupts the prince's next sacrifice? I mean, how long was she up there? Speaking of that, did they do these weddings weekly? Like, what was the time frame there?
They hinted at that because remember when she stepped out on the balcony after arriving, she saw the other girl there, and then she saw the girl at the bottom already dead.
Oh, that's right. When I watched it, I didn't make the connection that was the young lady from the beginning when she did get to the castle. So did they just do this in perpetuity? Like what, every week? Yeah,
they
every fortnight or something?
It was pretty much all back-to-back nights.
Oh, that's right. They needed 3 because it was 3 eggs that were killed by the king 1,000 years ago. Okay, that's right.
And then she said
so it's not every week. It's 3, and then it's right.
And she said she saw the lights up on the mountain, and they're like we were honoring our ancestors.
Which again, structurally sound. Structurally sound. It made sense, most of the way, but then we get to the end, and it's like, you couldn't have figured out a way to have that not be that. I mean, you know what? My only thumb up that I'll give them for that ending was that at least she didn't beat the dragon to death, via combat. There was some combat involved, but she had to outwit it. And then I didn't even really so much mind the whole, because you could see this coming. It's the modern era. The dragon was female. It had a grudge with a king, the patriarchy, right? So Elodie kind of outwits it and is like, yeah, I know what happened and I didn't do that shit. So if you could not cook me, that'd be great. And we can just go down there and we'll sort out whatever we sort out, But then so Elodie breaks up the prince's next wedding, right? Like I said when we were offline, she just walks into the castle. There's no security, no soldiers, no checkpoints. The prince who we had seen with a personal honor guard contingent earlier in the film, nope, not there. So she walks all up in there like she had actually just crawled down a mountain for 3 days. Nobody stops her. She brings the dragon, right? She tells anybody that wants to go, you got 5 seconds to get out of here. And then literally on second number 5, the dragon nukes the fucking castle, right? Cooks everything. Your wait staff, your stable boys, your handmaidens.
She did give him the option to leave.
5 seconds, Duke. Put it on the screen. We'll count it down. 5 seconds. And the dragon wasn't there to mess around. And then, of course, we get the stupid walk-away explosion thing. And I was like, by that point, I'm like, this is stupid. It started okay. Dude, you know what it kind of reminded me of? And we can get out of here. We'll do a little final word. It reminded me of Rebel Moon. I hate to say it because that's part 2 is coming out in like a week, by the way. Side note to that.
April
that's
19th.
Yeah, right? It reminded me of Rebel Moon. It was like they wanted to do something new. We've demanded and bitched and moaned and cried. Guys, write new stuff. Just because you do it doesn't give you a free pass to make garbage. Like, we're still going to review it traditionally. Like, stuff can still suck and not be politically the things we don't like in movies. You know what I mean? Like, you can still just have a sucky movie. It's possible. In fact, it's likely, statistically speaking. And this just reminded me of Rebel Moon. They wanted to write new sci-fi for Rebel Moon, but they took every cliche from every kind of core central idea from other franchises in that genre and brought them in. Here, they didn't really absorb anything specifically from Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons outside of some visual, dragons, knights, and armor, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the story they told, it's not as fresh as they think it is, and down the stretch, they really fell into like every kind of trap they could have fallen into for the modern audience in terms of the girl boss who don't need no man and all the other nonsense. Although I'll give them credit, at least the leader of the evil kingdom was a queen. At least it was that. Because if it had been some fat dude like me, I'd have been like, fuck this movie.
And overall, the person she married, the prince, wasn't, he was just doing what he was doing to protect his kingdom.
Yep.
So he
was sympathetic in a way, and still got nuked.
Yeah, still got nuked. And he accepted it. That was the thing. He accepted it.
He did. I like that too, because I was like, all right, I mean, you did throw this chick and her sister off a bridge. You kind of probably shouldn't get out of here, Yeah. You probably got to get baked. Sorry, that's just how that is. Dude, I mean, let's do numbers here so we can wrap this up. I mean, I'm going to take this one first real quick because I don't have too much more to say about it. I can't give it a 1 because, like I said, structurally, like, I think all the right ideas in terms of like where scenes needed to be, setting things up, having a delineated act 1, act 2, act 3, all that stuff made sense to me. But the ending was so bad that any goodwill it built up, I got to strip that right away. The performances were also decent enough for me that I don't hate on anything. There wasn't anything super cringe, but I can't go any better than like 1.5 here because the halfway point and onward was so incredibly stupid that it sucked all of what I thought was going for it right out of the experience for me. 1.5. I can't even give it a 2, which is our running average, which is why I had to bump it down.
All right, so going in, I'm going to run some other numbers real quick with you.
Yeah,
the IMDb score rating is 6.1 out of 10, which is based off of 73 reviews, or 73,000 reviews.
Okay, there. Yep.
Yep, I hit the wrong one. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, has a 57% of 120 critics and an average of 5.5 amongst the audience. And where's the other metric that I usually use?
Metacritic
46
probably?
out of 100. Yeah, Metacritic has it at 46 out of 100.
So pretty mid. It seems like most people are just giving it pretty mid. And that makes sense. It is action-y. It has a cute girl in the lead. There's a dragon. I mean, I get it. But I think that everything, like I said, after that 45-minute mark is just asinine for me. So where are you number-wise out of 5?
Yeah, one more number I want to put out there before I give my review.
Shoot.
Keep you guys built in. It has 1.2 billion minutes streamed.
Yep. So, I mean, it hit. When you hit 1 billion watch minutes, that's their mark for these kind of things they put out there, right?
And I think that plays into how thirsty we are for original content that isn't set in a known IP.
Yep. Agreed. Because I'll throw a number at you. Let me throw a number at you real quick, just on tandem to that. Like, do you know what did you hear recently that on Steam, 60% of all played minutes of all games on Steam over like the last month or so have been from games that are 10 years or older or something like that. Yeah. So there's an appetite for two things: brand new shit that doesn't kind of ruin old stuff, and then also classic stuff that is what everybody remembers fondly and wants more of. It's an interesting kind of side by side, you know?
The dichotomy, yeah. Definitely a strange dichotomy.
Digging it. All right, give me a number.
All right, into my score. All right, so like I said, I love the setup, and when they got into the fun and games, I think the story started to fall apart after the false victory at the end. Too many things were going on, too many coincidences and happenstance, and I swear she is the most accurate person with a dagger to cut her own hair. I mean, it was perfectly straight all the way around. So,
you had to have that scene. I'm surprised she didn't shave one side of her head, to be honest. But it's not Star Wars. Oh, I did it! I did a Star Wars thing.
Just once, I would like them to have it uneven because they did it with a dagger. Just saying, just once, just uneven. But I know you have a hair and makeup team, and you're MBB. You're not going out in public like that. So, with that said, I think the cast and crew of this, or the crew and the cast and crew of this did an excellent job for what they were handed. I think the people above the line failed this, not the actors. They did the best they could with what they were given. So I will give it a 4.
4 out of 5 or 4 out of 10?
4 out of 10.
Oh, jeez. Oh. Whew. Okay. I almost because I did out of 5. Okay. I was going 1.5 out of 5.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, 1.8 out of 5 if we break it down to 5.
Heart attacks are avoided. Thank God. I was like, wait, what? 4 out of 5. I opened the video and said we're on the same page.
But my flowers go out. My main 3 flowers go out to Angela Bassett. I think she did great as a stepmother, and then the whole thing where she called her by her name and not just stepmother.
That was nice. Yep.
That was a good moment. Yep. 2 is the costume department.
Yep.
Did an
Take notes,
job.
Rings of Power, by the way. Let's talk about that.
The scene where they get up to the top of the mountain, they all have the mask on and everything. Yep. Beautiful. And 3 was the art department for all the realistic looks that wasn't CGI. Of course, you're going to see CGI and stuff. You can see the background, the sky replacements, all stuff like that. But the props department and art department did a fantastic job. So those are my 3 flowers heading out to this one. So that's my review of Damsel.
Agreed. I think we'll put the stamp on this one. If you guys have a trial subscription to Netflix or you're bored for a couple of hours on some Saturday, it's not the worst thing you're going to watch, but it's nothing you're ever going to go back to watch more than once, unless maybe you're a diehard MBB fan. Like, if you're in that age demographic where that's your celeb poster kind of person.
It could be the thing you put on the background while you do something else, just to have some noise.
Yeah, I suppose so. It'll be all right. All right, that's going to do it for us. No, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't awful background noise. We should have a rating system based on where it would fall on background noise availability. That'd be good. That's going to be it for us, guys. We're going to take off, and I'm just going to say bye for King Z on this one because we got other stuff to do. See ya.